Officers on the pursuit call. Suspect vehicle was last seen heading north near the power station. Containment will be set up ahead of his last known direction of travel. This call is still code 6. Handle on TAC 3.
Alright guys, so if you didn't get enough of my Skyline parts on 240s in the last video, well, we got some more. And this time we're going to be tackling my spoiler. So I had an idea, and the biggest thing about my car is I like to be different. I don't want somebody, even though S chassis by themselves are pretty standout-ish, you don't see them every day, I don't want somebody with one S chassis or one S14 to have the same build as my car. I don't want to be just like majority with, you know, B&N kits or KVD kits, drifting it, you know what I'm saying? Some of those cars look good. They look very good. I just like being different. So no disrespect towards anybody that's running that. The car still looks great. And if I see it, I'm going to fanboy over it. I personally just don't want to run something similar. I like the JGT GT500 style for these type of cars. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to be switching out my wing. Now originally I wanted a wing that was a little bit wider to kind of account for the big ass over fenders and stuff, but at this point it's kind of impossible unless I go custom, and right now I'm not trying to go custom for the wing. And I mean custom, like custom board type of thing. I don't have custom board type of thing money at the time, so I'm not trying to do that. But I saw an interesting look and I figured out how to do it. So the first step to this is to uninstall my converted to a low mount Big Country Labs wing. For that, I just bolted it in, 2 bolts on each side, and it'll just pop right off. I'm going to sell this, so if anybody's in the Dallas area and they want a converted to a low mount Big Country Labs wing, the wing is wide as hell. It's just my car is wider. But yeah, hit me up. I'll be selling it for roughly about $600. I paid almost $1,000 new, I think, after taxes and shipping, so I feel like $600 is fair considering the fact that I chopped it up, but you still get all the pieces except for the end plates, and you can just buy end plates anywhere. So I'll be posting that up for sale because we're going to be replacing it, and I'll show you what we'll replace it with in a second. Is right. All right, so with that last clip, the cat, for anybody that knows Nissan, is out the bag. We have a sectional version of a R33 GTR OEM wing. Why is it sectional? Because the R33 Skyline's trunk is flat and the S14's trunk has that concave to it. So it's easier to just make the wing tips fit like that and then bolt the blade to them than to try and get the trunk portion to fit, because I'll have to do some cutting and stuff like that to get it to match the concave, and I don't really need that. But yes, this is step 1 of 2 for the new look on the wing. So I'm gonna go ahead and bolt this down. It's really simple. It's just 2 bolts for each one. Now the sad thing is the push buttons that I have put for to secure the trunk have to be relocated, and those side clamps have to be removed altogether, but these hold it in by themselves, so I don't really need those anymore. But yeah, let's see how this looks, or how this turns out. So we are at a point where the wing is mounted. So I had to cut this much of it because there was no way to get this to sit flush. So we're left here. Now what I plan on doing is filling this in so that it's not just a hole and making air come in and getting trapped and stuff, acting like a parachute. So this will be filled in to be flat, and that'll pretty much be that. So I won't have the benefit of the full look, but you got majority of it, and I'm cool with that. The second piece of it is the trunk. So I used to have these buttons and 2 latches that you would have seen in the last clip. I don't need the latches anymore. They were just in case the buttons failed. The buttons do not fail, so I don't need those. This is fine. But these are a little bit of a pain because the wing sits on top of them. So I'm gonna have to relocate these. What I'm thinking about relocating them to simply is just over here. Now the issue is this hole is this hole. And where this hole sits is right about here. There's no mount here for this piece, so I'll have to make one. So I'm thinking about getting the welder out, welding something either back here or over here that extends out, and then welding a support straight down so that I can move this over here, move the button over there, and then have a functioning trunk. Because essentially the wing itself is where it's going to be. This is the only way to line it up. It's even on both sides, and this is how I want it to be. So we have to maintain functionality. Moving this over there, that allows me to do that, and then I'll be waiting for step 2. So this is the weekend project for today. In the meantime, I've already taken care of the other side of the quarter panel. So for my last video that you've seen, I did one side. This side has already been done as well, so we're good on that. It's literally just sorting out the wing, and then the car is ready for paint. And you know, of course I got to get it running again. I'm still waiting on that PRP trigger kit, but you know, that's a different story. So figuring out the wing, and then the car is ready for paint, and we can go ahead and do some stuff. So let's get this out. All right, hear me out. Now, a lot of purists or perfectionists are going to be like, your trunk is terrible. It's so many holes in it. You messed up your car. I know how most 240 guys are. First off, I don't care. It's my car. But secondly, I'm in the process of making things work. So these have been relocated to here. I have now moved the pins over there so that they can match, and that's been done for both sides. So these will be the new holes. I will now cover up the old holes that were not used to mount the stands. The janky part is what I had to do to get these here. So let's take a look. Now for starters, the doors on S14s, if you take the door panel off, there is a metal handle kind of thing. I think it's more of a bracket, but it looks just like a handle. I took those off because I didn't need them, and I repurposed them here. So I bolted it to the bottom of the, that's a bumper bolt, and then I bolted it to the top, that's a taillight bolt. From there, I did the worst welding job ever and welded on like a little bit of a bracket to come up so that it would be at the same height as it was, and then made sure that the mounting plate was right. And then I just welded it together to make it semi-structural. You can move it side to side, but you aren't going to be moving it up really at all. I might fortify this even more now that I have everything in the position that it's supposed to be, but this is what I got going on for that. At first I was just gonna have a piece come over and then go all the way down, but this way it bolts on, bolts off, so if I need to remove it I can for whatever reason. But it also doesn't take up much space. Like if I would have something come across here and go all the way down, this pocket of space is gonna be kind of limited for the bumper and the tail light, and in this one I can just unbolt it. So I got that for that side. I also got it for this side. I guess I could get you a shot of both of them together, but those are the pins that will now be holding the S14 trunk closed. Now, the easy way that some people might think would be like to take this metal piece. I just welded this, so it's hot. To take this metal piece and just have it come off from here out like that, and that would be viable, but I have a lot of wiring under there, so I wasn't trying to weld directly right there. I just didn't feel like taking the wiring off. And then secondly, I wanted it to be strong, and third, I wanted it to bolt on. So my sloppy execution, but hey, it gets the job done. I've already tested the pins. They line up, they lock, they're way easier to push to get it back off. They do the job, and the job will be done. Now, as for my trunk, definitely not in the best condition. Now, as you can see, this is primer to prevent rust. The only bolts used to hold in the stands are this one and that one. The only bolts, or the only holes that I added, were this one. This one's going to be used for the actual buttons, and then that one, and that was for the wing. This one was for the wing, the old wing. Now this one is factory, because this trunk was a factory winged trunk. If you go all the way back, you'll see the OEM spoiler on it. So it already had holes to begin with. That's where some of these come from. Like this one, that's a factory hole. So I'll be covering all that up. The only ones that's not going to be covered up is this one, because it's going to be used for the button, and then the ones that are currently bolted in for the stands. But we're going to go ahead and use some Bondo to fill those gaps up. But that's the progress so far, and you can kind of see how it looks with no stand, or with no thing in between, because I took the board out to make sure that I could get these lined up correctly. But if you wanted to see that for whatever reason, there you go. All right, I'm gonna get back to working on it. I'm actually just gonna take these and lay the body patch for the Bondo, and then I'll call it for today, but it'll just jump to the next clip. All right, so this is kind of not the end result, but just the first layering of the Bondo. So if you look on the back side, I gotta grind this down, but those are all the patches and stuff. Same thing for the other side, and that's what allows me to actually layer it across the holes. And then once this all dries, I'm gonna sand it down, but the holes that remain are the two for the new wing, and then the relocation for the buttons. So I'm gonna sand these down and then paint it, and then we'll be good to go. And another thing with this wing is, I've also started the process of fitting a patch to here so I can Bondo this. But I think that I can bolt that wing to these stands and basically give me the same look that I was going for. See, there are two bolts that bolts into this. And if you come over here and look at this, there are two bolts that bolt into this plate. If I disassemble this and make those holes wider, there's a chance that they may line up. And then I wouldn't need to get the beer wing, because it's been a little bit, this isn't really selling. So instead of buying the replacement beer wing, I can still run this. It'll give me the same look. I have no issues with this wing. I just wanted that look because I feel like it fits the car more. But yeah, if I can use this, then it won't cost me anything. The only benefit to getting the beer wing is semi-guaranteed fitment, and it would have been carbon fiber, which of course is always better. But you know, if you ain't got it, you ain't got it. So I'm gonna, once I get the trunk situated, I'm going to bolt the wing back on and then see if it lines up with these. So in my steps to get this wing to fit, I've lined it up and measured it. These stands are off by like 2 inches. So I made these plates. I marked where the bolt holes to bolt it to here, and this will basically serve as an extension. So one side will bolt here, the other side I'll get a nut and bolts to bolt to the stand, and that'll pretty much line it up with these, like with the actual R33 stand. So it'll look a little something like, let's see if I can do this with one hand. Yeah. So it'll look a little something like that, extension wise. All I gotta do is drill the holes and then get nuts and bolts for the back side where my hand is, and then see how that lines up. But we should be good to go after that. And the next thing, I'll either buy or make some end plates. to finally put back on this wing. So that'll be coming soon as well, but that's where I'm at with it right now. I'm not even gonna lie to you, I just had one of them weekend days where I was just like, let me do some work on the car, and I ended up finishing this whole job without recording anything from the last clip. As you can see, paint, vice setups, drill, all that stuff, plexiglass. So let's go over here. Well, actually I still got one more step, but here, let's take a look at this. So the wing is mounted fully. I was not able to get the bottom bolt here to line up, and due to my terrible hole drilling, it's offset ever so slightly, and I can't expand that hole without basically making it useless unless I can find a washer big enough to cover it on those brackets. Now I did paint the brackets, so I ended up welding the brackets on this side. Excuse my boo-boo welds, I didn't grind them down. But I welded the bracket on this side instead of bolting it, just for clearance. And then I bolted it on this side, but I painted the little bracket spacer, whatever you want to call it, black. And then I got new hardware for the actual wing because the old hardware was rusted. So that's there. I had to drill a hole here to mount it because this stand was bumping into the top of here from the initial mounting point because it was too low. So there's that. All that stuff's on the back of this. These still fit perfectly. And as far as the comparison between the two, it's a little bit higher than where it was previously, probably about an inch higher. And it's a little bit more tilted. I'd say maybe 10 degrees more tilted forward, but it's still relatively straight. Like, I kind of look at this bottom piece right there to determine it, and that piece is relatively straight. So I'm cool with it. Also, I made my own end plates. So I have to go ahead and refinish this because you can see it's very wavy. But I made my own end plates out of plexiglass, painted them black, found the hardware for the, or found new hardware for the sides and mounted those to kind of add to the look. And the last step that I need to do is to Bondo these holes so that it's not, you know, a huge hole. So I guess if anything, I kind of don't want to record that just because it's a relatively simple process. When it comes to it, it's Bondo. And as some would have seen in, I think I made a clip on this one, but it's really just a matter of connecting that and then putting the Bondo over it so that it's one flat piece. Same thing for the other side, and then that'll be that. Now, I would prefer, it'll look a little bit better when the car is getting repainted because the stands are white, the brackets are black, this board is the color of the car, and then the end plates are black. So it's a hodgepodge. But once the car is fully painted, this will all be the color. This will be the same color as the body. The brackets will stay black, the end plates will stay black, but this will also be the color of the body as well. And it'll kind of bring it all together. But I'm liking what I'm liking what I'm looking at. And I may even take these and paint these black and add like a sticker on them just to kind of break up the color that's going to be painted in the future. But I like it. It actually kind of fits for what I was going for. And I didn't have to shell out any extra money to get the beer style wing. Now granted, that would have been carbon, but you know, this wing wasn't selling and I'm cool with that. I think I'm not gonna record me putting these in because I would be filling these in preparation to paint. And the car's not gonna get painted no time soon, so it will really just prolong the video and, you know, make things a little more complicated. So I'm gonna end it here. I'm gonna just say like, comment, subscribe, follow the build. Till next time, and we'll see which video comes next.